Have you ever thought about having a beer with Ted Bundy?
Or been anally probed at Area 51?
Perhaps go to dinner with Jeffrey Dahmer?
Taking a car ride with JFK?
Or enter a romantic relationship with O.J. Simpson? If so, then crack a cold one.
The Pub Time Podcast just might be for you.
Hi, this is Colin.
And this is Paul.
And we are the hosts of Seismic Cinema Podcast.
You are now listening to the Bleach Bros with B-Word and Jake the Hater, and you're in for an absolute belter of a show.
Thanks for all the dirty talk. Come back and get sanitized.
Welcome into the Bleach Brothers podcast. This is B-Word, and as usual, I am here with my good buddy Jake. Jake, how you doing tonight, my man?
I'm here. I was in the spaghetti verse, and I came here. Like that's the new timeline thing, right? Like it's spaghetti universe.
Were you in
theory, spaghetti theory?
Were you in Mom's Spaghetti, or were you just in?
No,
spaghetti?
I was not in Mom's Spaghetti. I'm not B-Rabbit. I don't puke on my own sweater and show up places in the puke sweater. But I am here. If you could travel at any point in time to kick your own ass, what day would it have been?
That's a good question, dude. I don't know that I've thought about that ever. I mean, I probably would say, hey, don't hook up with this person or hook up with that person or whatever. But I think if I were to just like whoop my own ass, I'd have to do it young enough, but I'd also want it to be memorable. So like I'd probably have to like kick my ass in high school, like freshman year or something. So that way, once I whoop my ass and then I taught myself a lesson, like I would just remember it. And then I would probably take solace knowing that in like 20 years or whatever, I would get to go back and whoop my own ass.
You do it again. Yeah,
Yeah.
You're now it's like, oh, today's the day.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
after you whoop their ass, you hand them a note saying like, hey, this is the day I went back in time.
Yeah,
so one day
exactly.
this will be you.
Exactly.
See,
Like a little
my issue is,
Futurama
like,
type thing.
Yeah, I had to look at three folds on this theory. One, what moment made me so mad or I regret so much that I'm like, okay, I need to go back and fix that. Two, am I able to kick my own ass? Because I'm hitting the age now, B-word, where stretching hurts. I'm slower. Like, so I have, like you were saying, it has to be young enough. Like, I can kick my 12-year-old ass. That's not a problem, right? But could I kick my 17-year-old ass? Maybe. Could I kick I definitely couldn't kick my own ass when I was like 22.
I think I can kick my own ass when I was like 14 or 15. I think I could do that right now as it sits today. Like, I just need a couple good punches. Like, let's be honest. Like, I'm not doing a marathon. I don't need to sit here and do 18 rounds of boxing. Like, I just need a couple good punches just to get the attention and go from there. Could I kick my 21, 22, 23, 24-year-old ass? Fuck no, I couldn't. It would just.
And that's the third part of the question. That's the third part. I'm going in with chloroform. And I'm sneaking up. I'm going to be the dirtiest fucking fighter against myself. Like, and I'm going to admit it too. I'm going to be like kicking him myself in the balls when I'm down. But I do have that weird thought, right? Like, if you kick yourself in the balls, right? Does it hurt? Like I don't want to do too much damage to where it really affects my future self. But also, like, does it hurt at the same time? You know what I mean? Because it's yourself that you're hitting.
I mean, I think it would probably hurt in the same manner like when you spank your kid and like you feel bad because you're spanking your kid even though you're not hurting your kid.
Me. I'm kicking my own ass.
I think it probably hurts that way. I don't know that there's any residual though.
All right. So second part to this. Would you ever jerk yourself off?
Yes. 100% yes.
Like how weird is that though? Like would you all right, now I really want to get into this. Okay, so you travel back in time, right? And you're jerking yourself off. Are you asking them to return the favor where it's like that twofer where you're doing it at the same time, like two guys sawing down a big tree, like going back and forth? Or is it like your turn, then my turn? Or like how are you doing this?
I actually just put some thought into this, and I don't think my answer is yes anymore. I think my answer is no. And the reason why I think my answer is no is because I feel like you're going to say, "Well, how old would you be when you're jacking yourself off?" And that's where my mind went. And if I was 15 years old and I'm jacking off my 15-year-old self, and now you're saying, "Well, why don't you have your 15-year-old self jack off your 40-year-old self?" Like, I don't like that anymore. That doesn't feel comfortable.
Right. See, you did that. You thought of the 15-year-old. I'm thinking the 22-year-old me. I'm not going to kick his own ass, but I am going to jerk him off.
Well, the reason why I thought the 15-year-old is because I was like, if I'm jerking myself off, like in a different age, I want to learn something. Like I'm going back with the idea that I'm going to teach myself something. And that makes me feel super dirty. Like if I'm sitting there going, "Hey, 13-year-old self, like if you touch your dick this way, it feels so much better." Like that makes me feel dirty, dude. Like totally dirty.
See, isn't that weird? It's yourself, but you can't jerk off yourself at 14.
I can't be pedophilic with myself, dude. It just can't.
Mind you, though, like I wonder the things I would teach myself, or like would it ruin me? Would it ruin me forever? Like doing that to myself, like, you know what I mean, where I stare in my own eyes, and see my O face, like, because you don't want to see your O face.
In every time travel movie, there's the warning that you don't want to cross paths with yourself, right?
You don't want to cross streams either.
Well, yeah, you don't want to cross streams.
Streams,
but you don't want to, because there's a space-time continuum, and whether it be Back to the Future, whether it be the Flash that we're going to talk about today, or whether it be whatever, we do not want to cross paths with ourselves and then negatively affect the future in whatever space-time rules we're working with, right? So I think my answer is going to be no, dude. I'm not going to jack myself off in the past. In my future,
I'm jerking myself off. I'm not sucking myself off. I'm jerking myself off. And then I'm coming on the carpet. But I will say this. Speaking of the Flash, have you ever seen that like video or meme or whatever of Reverse Flash going back in time and jerking off Barry Allen?
No.
There's a video of the cartoon from DC where Reverse Flash like goes up and tells him, like, you can look it up. And I want to know if it's real or not, because I haven't seen that movie that it's from, and I don't know if somebody has edited it or if it's like actually what DC went, because they said this is like the darkest moment Reverse Flash ever was, like to prove that he's the greatest villain, where he goes back and makes Barry feel good, and then it tells him to his face like, "Oh, I jerked you off last night." Like it's so messed up, B-word. And so that's why I thought of that.
It was me, Barry. I made them draw Lola Bunny with fewer sexual features so that you wouldn't be horny, and reduce your blood flow to make you a millisecond slower. Slow enough for me to kill Iris.
Remember when you were making out with your first girlfriend?
And you came right as she touched your leg? It was me, Barry. I jerked you off at super speed so it'd seem like you nutted at just a woman's touch.
See, I totally didn't think that you were coming to the party with that. I thought you were going to tell me that Reverse Flash found Barry Allen and jerked him off to the point where he's about to come and walked away. Like that's what, and like, ha ha ha, you're I'm not going to finish you, finish yourself type thing. But that's where our minds don't necessarily mesh with each other.
No. Now, would you go back in time and jerk me off?
No.
Would you go in the future and jerk me off?
No, but I would let you jerk me off.
I know you'd let me. I'm asking, like if I have an old person home, B-word, and like we're still bros, and like, you know, Bleach Bros is over and we're retiring on it, you know, and all that. And like you're like, "Jake, I'm here to take care of you and like make sure we're good friends. What can I do for you?" And I look at you and go, "Jerk me off." Are you doing it or not?
No, but I would offer a Dutch rudder.
What's a Dutch rudder?
So it's where I hold my dick and then you hold your dick, and then separately with our other arm we hold each other's elbows and we shake.
Oh, and you. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah,
I'd
so
do
I
that.
would totally do that with you.
I would do that.
Yeah. Happy Pride Month, everybody.
Happy Pride.
So
Robert the Bear is proud of you.
Robert the Bear is proud of me. So for everybody who is still listening to us, this is the episode that we're actually going to talk about The Flash. Both Jake and I had the opportunity to go and watch the film. This film was kind of doomed from the start, dude. Like there were so many delays and reshoots, and then DC sold off part of its properties, and then the new head of the studio comes in. Like I just feel like it was doomed before Zack Snyder's kid, or whatever the circumstance was, killed himself. And then, you know, you had Joss Whedon come in for all of this shit, and it just seemed like the Snyderverse was set up so perfectly, I thought, and then all of it was ripped away. And I think this is the final like piece of that Band-Aid, if you will, like where we're ripping the Band-Aid off, that you've got the Flash with so much potential, with so much. I mean, some part of the story was really, really good. I just think that this was the effect of it. If that makes sense. There was just so many delays of it between COVID, between the Zack Snyder issues, between trying to find a director, casting delays, and then of course Ezra Miller and all of his bullshit that he's done. It just really affected the film. What is your thought process here as far as the delays and the reshoots and all of that sort of stuff? Did you think that this movie could have relapsed from that? Do you think that this movie could have been saved by it? Do you think that there was a storyline that you would have thought that they would have included that was ripped out due to these reshoots?
No, and here there's multiple reasons here. One, I think it was doomed from the start because we all knew DC's been falling apart for years. Ever since the failure of Justice League, I mean, it's been announced publicly, no matter if James Gunn was coming in or not, who's there, who's staying, what movie's getting made. Ben Affleck's allowed to direct a Batman film. Now he's not. Now we're doing this. Now we're doing that. I mean, I haven't watched half of DC's slate, if I can be upfront, because I don't fucking care, because I'm just waiting for the next reiteration and whenever they restart this.
Yeah.
Because I liked the Snyderverse. And here's the thing. I will go out on a limb and say DC doesn't make the worst movies.
No, they don't.
I think we think they do. They did make some bad ones, just like Marvel made some bad ones, but they've never been able to recover for it. So, one, going into this, people already knew that it was over, so is there really a point to see it, right? It's sort of like if somebody tells you the ending of a football game when you tell them not to say anything, and they're like, oh, well, the Cowboys won tonight. It's like, well, then why the fuck am I going to watch it?
Right.
So there's that. Two, James Gunn coming in has really changed it because it's pretty much a big middle finger to everything. And then Ezra Miller's bullshit. Like, really, like, there are people that are just like, I'm not going to support this. I'm not about this. And I totally stand with that too. Okay, great. Like, one of my favorite moments, and spoilers, we're going to get into the review later, is when Ezra Miller's in the film and he goes, oh, the Justice League's not good with mental health.
Yeah.
Right in the beginning of the film. And I'm like, oh, yeah, there's a fucking 2-point shot right there. Laid it up for me.
Right.
But it's been doomed forever. And here's the worst part. If James Gunn didn't come in and they didn't clean house with DC, right? And let's say they did some of the things, the rumors that were that were going to be in this film, or they kept different cameos, or they kept other things. I think it could have like a Snyderverse moment where we were like, please bring it back. Let's petition online. Let's go on Twitter and give everybody our what for and make this continue. And it might have happened. But knowing all the downfall of every little moment of it, it's like, I think everybody's just moving on, going, okay, it happened. We'll maybe watch it. Maybe I'll wait for it to come on DVD, as we used to say, right? Or on a streaming service. And then when they restart and they reboot and they go back, like, great. But I mean, you pretty much had every left turn thrown at you in this film.
Yeah.
And for as predictable as it was, it didn't catch up. And so honestly, I went because we wanted to review this and you asked me to, but other than that, I probably would have waited for it to come out because I don't care that much. I mean, I've never really been the biggest Flash fan. I'll say it. He's a track star. Great. Usain Bolt in red. Good for him. He can run really quick. I mean, they break down the character very well, but I mean, he's just a character I've never been excited about. And most of the DC ones they have in the Justice League, I'm not.
Right.
But then, it's also like feeling like, okay, Ezra Miller's not Flash anymore. Don't fucking care. Ben Affleck's not Batman anymore. Don't care. Henry Cavill's not Superman. Don't care. Like, is Gal Gadot still in there? I hope so. Is, Jason Momoa's Aquaman? I don't know. I don't really give a fuck either here. I know Cyborg is gone. So this whole universe is just fucked. So it's like, start it over.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk with you about right here, is because we had Batman versus Superman come out, and prior to that we had the Superman movie. I'm losing the name of it, but regardless, the Superman origin movie with Henry Cavill. And in Batman versus Superman, we had the intro to Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. And honestly, I thought it was rushed. I think as fans, we all thought it was rushed, but we understood what DC was trying to do. DC was trying to put content in front of us. They were trying to sell movie tickets, and they were trying to build this universe around Superman and Batman, which I think is a phenomenal thing to do. And as that continued, we got the Wonder Woman movie. We got the Aquaman movie that I've never seen. We got Shazam that was supposed to be tied into all of this. We ended up recently getting Black Adam, and we've got Suicide Squad, and like all of these different properties, right? And they're all supposed to be interconnected. And then all of a sudden, they recast a Batman. And no, that Batman's in a separate universe. They create a Joker movie. No, that Joker's in a separate universe, right? So now you've got all these different universes as it sits. And then all of a sudden, the Flash television series on the CW has this epic crossover where now Ezra Miller ends up at the end of that doing a cameo in their Flashpoint little storyline, right? So now you're dealing with all of those universes that are tied. And also in the television universes, you also have references to, Batman 1989. You have references to Smallville. You have references to all of these different things that now you're like, okay, this is pretty massive. Like literally, I granted these are television universes, right? But when you're talking about like all of these trying to interconnect, that's a really big picture to interconnect. And then we start hearing Ben Affleck doesn't want to be Batman anymore. We don't want Ben Affleck to be Batman anymore. You and I both love Batman and really want to see him continue that. But we know that that's a farce at this point. And then we see, okay, now The Rock's going to come in and do this Black Adam thing. And now Gal Gadot and all this sort of stuff. And dude, I think it got too big, too fast, with too grandiose of a story. And then, just like what they did with all the Netflix Marvel stuff, they said, well, we're just going to cancel this. It's just not going to be a thing. And all of us just stopped watching it. And I think for me, my perception was watching the Flash film, I wanted them to do some sort of something at the end to tie into the new universe. And I didn't want them to include the new actors. I didn't want them the existing actors. I wanted them to include new actors. I wanted them to include a new universe, maybe even recast Flash through this process, just so that way it will then connect into it. So that way there's an explainer to it, as opposed to, hey, there's all of these worlds. And I think I was kind of disappointed in that at the end. I also understand where they were going with on that. But it was just something that I just really didn't like. And the reason why I went and saw it so quickly is because it was being review bombed prior to it coming out. And I just thought, well, I don't want to be influenced by the critics. I want to be influenced by my own opinion with this. And so that's why I went and saw it.
See, that's where we disagree, though. I didn't want anything new. I just wanted them to treat it like a bomb and blow it up and say, okay, this is done now, finally. Like, here's the thing. I think Gal Gadot is the greatest Wonder Woman casting ever.
Yep.
I fucking hate Superman. He sucks. He can suck my dick.
You don't like Henry Cavill?
No. That's my point. I love Henry Cavill as Superman.
Perfect.
I hate Superman as a character as a whole. So
Right.
It doesn't matter who is. Superman just sucks. But I will say this. Great casting.
Yes.
DC did a great job casting.
They fucking nailed it with every character, bro.
Every character. And the thing is that you have even Ezra Miller,
Yeah.
for all his faults, great acting. He does a great job playing that character. He's quirky, he's weird. It is nice, and we're going to get into this review. I know we keep saying that, but it's the point though that I wanted it all bombed and blown up and restarted.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we don't know if Gal Gadot is going to stay, we don't know if Jason Momoa is going to stay. It's like, okay, well then who do I care about? Who do I not? It feels like sequels of movies where, like, remember when you watched The Mask when you were growing
Mm-hmm.
up, right? And you loved that movie with Jim Carrey.
Yep.
And then you found out they made a sequel with I
Son
can't
of the
remember his
Mask.
fucking Son of the Mask.
And then they
And
had
it was
the
this
dog.
guy, and they had the dog, and it was like, oh, that was straight to DVD. DC's universe feels like a lot of it's straight to DVD.
It
now,
does.
where it's like Aquaman straight to DVD, but this movie will make it in the theaters. And Shazam 1 is in the theaters, and Shazam 2 is like straight to DVD. Also because it's not continuing.
Right.
So I don't really care.
Well, I just want to continue with that. Sorry to interrupt. I just want to continue with that again because you're working with these properties that we're being told are canceled, right? So we're told Black Adam is no longer going to be a part of the universe, and all of a sudden Shazam 2 comes out, and that there's no Shazam versus Black Adam, right? And so you're also dealing with, Ben Affleck's not going to be a part of the universe anymore, and so I feel like that negatively affected Robert Pattinson's Batman, because how long, fans are not satisfied by Batman. They haven't been satisfied by Batman at all, probably since Adam West. They criticize
Neither's Catwoman.
right. But they criticize Keaton, they criticize Bale, they criticize Kilmer, they criticize Clooney. Like they criticize everything right now, and I'm just as guilty of it. But you have the perfect casting in this. Like I guess for me as a fan, I just wanted them to fix it. Like I don't know that it was fixable. Like I'll submit to that. But I just wanted them to fix it because now we have to recast, and honestly, I just don't trust that.
Yeah, but I mean, with James Gunn coming in, and I already said this when you released the Snyder Cut, which I loved the Snyder Cut.
I loved
it comparatively, and I it's one of those I can't watch over and over again because one, I wish it would have been a series. Two, it's fucking long. But three, it was good. It's still not like the greatest comic book movie ever, but it's better.
Yeah.
But I did say on this show, and I've said to multiple people, that is the downfall for DC. Because look at the studio difference, right? DC is now Kevin Smith just announced that he's going to review the Schumacher cut of fucking Batman Return or Batman Forever.
Yep.
And how it's so much longer and darker. And it's like, has anybody really even thought of that fucking cut again? Like,
right.
Like how come DC has all these cuts that are so fucking like everything's 4 to 5 hours long and all this was left on the cutting room floor and it's all the good shit that was. It's like it just feels like DC has this thought process, and like James Gunn coming in, just like what they did with Suicide Squad, the sequel, even though it was Suicide Squad and then the Suicide Squad. It's like, hey, we have a chance to redo everything. Like, hey, we didn't like that. Here's the reset button on the Nintendo. Start back over and redo the Contra code. It's like, it really pisses me off. It's like you've put out a bad film, you did a bad job, and instead of releasing the same cut, the Snyder cut 5 years later, however fucking long it took, and then everybody gets happy again, and there's almost excitement, and then you're like, well, shit, maybe we should backtrack and do that. I mean, that's what happened. If they never released that, we would have never backtracked.
It almost feels like that they were in the Fantastic Four contract where they were obligated to put out new content every 3 years. And they, that would result in recasting and new storylines or repeated storylines or whatever. Or kind of like when you're redoing the Spider-Man thing, and you've got, you have to do the Uncle Ben scene over and over and over. I mean, it's too much, man. And really, if you look at it, I think Marvel got lucky. I don't know that they were considering Ezra Miller, but if you took Ezra Miller and Tom Holland and you swapped the roles, I think that they could actually fit the profile of the character each. And, then you've got two different crazy people. But long story short, man, I think we're going to get into the review here shortly. But I just want to ask you one more question as far as before we actually get into this. When talking about, obviously the critics and the reviews and all of this sort of stuff, how much do you actually pay attention to that before you actually go to the movie?
I don't. I will say this. I do pay attention to certain critics. Like I love Chris Stuckman.
Yep.
It's Stuckmanized. There's a few people on YouTube that I like to watch. Emergency Awesome. There's some that I wait until after because I want spoilers. I want Easter eggs. I want to hear more of the story. I want to see what didn't happen, what did. But Chris Stuckman's one of those ones where when he does a spoiler-free review, he's somebody I trust. Mind you, because I also know when to disagree with him.
Yep.
Like when he starts talking about how lighting is and stuff like that, I probably won't care as much. When he starts telling me it's more like an old film, I'm like, okay, I don't fucking care. But there are times that he's my go-to guy. There are some critics I'll look online, but there is, however, a joy that I have being the hater. I fucking love it. I loved waking up and seeing everybody hated The Flash. It made me so happy, B-word. I was so happy to be like, good. I'm glad people hate this movie. I'm glad nobody's going to see it because it also feeds into all this shit will be over eventually because they're going to lose so much damn money on this movie. And it's for tons of reasons. But there is a joy that comes out sometimes seeing something that you're like, yeah, I hope that doesn't do well. And then it doesn't. It's the greatest. Like, I already had to deal with the Golden Knights winning the fucking Stanley Cup. That was the end of my life, the end of the world. I cried and my wife looked at me weird because I was crying. I was so pissed off. But to see how the Flash is failing is wonderful.
I can't say I don't agree with you, man. I'm interested to see what James Gunn and Peter Safran do. What's your trust level in them? Do you think that they're going to take it and be the Kevin Feige, or do you think that they're going to stumble and just fail initially?
I think they're going to stumble.
Yeah,
I think they're going to stumble because I think here's the thing. I like James Gunn for directing Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what
you
I
don't
mean by
like
that,
him for
it's
Scooby-Doo?
sort of like
the live action
never.
Scooby-Doo.
I hate Scooby-Doo in general. I hate that whole Scooby-Doo universe. I hate that dog. I hate this. It's the same fucking thing every time. Oh, Jinkies.
But my daughter, when she was younger, called you Shaggy.
I don't care. I hate everything. I hate everything about Scooby-Doo. So no. But my point was, B-word, before you interrupted me about some stupid Great Dane and a dumb fucking teenage high friends pulling masks off people in the middle of nowhere in some town like, oh, I don't know why a giant ghost squirrel is attacking people. Let's go figure it out. Anyways, where was it? James Gunn is great for directing. It's sort of like Taika Waititi, right? Is that how you say his name?
I will disagree with you there. I like Taika Waititi when he first came out. I don't, but he's dropped off a cliff.
I have my point on that is this: I like him for his directorial stuff, but if they made him like the leader of DC, I would have no faith. And here's why: I think that James Gunn has a style. He has a style that he's going to bring. I like that style for certain characters and certain properties of what he's doing. Kevin Feige does not have a style. Kevin Feige is a man that goes out and says, I want to make a universe. I'm going to find people to help me build that universe.
Right.
James Gunn comes across like, this is how the universe should be. I see the universe in this light. We should have it colorful and be goofy and cast my brother and make this and have this much CGI and then give the middle finger to people when we don't care what they think. I mean, dude, most of the properties he's touched, I mean, let's just say it. When George Clooney shows up in the fucking Flash, that is the biggest middle finger to all of us fans when you gave me bat nips walking down.
Yep.
And that's what it felt like. That's the problem I have with James Gunn is if James Gunn gets snarky and doesn't like fans, he's going to pull some shit and go, you know what? Fuck you guys. Here's Adam West now for the rest of your life.
So that's the first spoiler in this. So when we come back from commercial, I'm going to talk about another spoiler and then we'll get into our reviews.
What's up, everyone? It's Mitch from the Two Guys in a Dart podcast, and I am joined by Bobby, the only guy I know who thinks about chili dogs while he's hanging out at your mom's house.
You damn right. And speaking of things I like to do on Sundays, nothing beats a brand new episode of Two Guys in a Dart.
Oh, tell me more, Daddy.
We sit down, discuss life, pop culture, entertainment, and much, much more.
So join us weekly as we take to the open road with a turkey burger and some cabbage rolls, right here on the Two Guys in a Dart podcast.
Bleach Bros podcast is proud to align itself with Jerky Pro, a beef jerky manufacturer established by military and paramilitary veterans.
Available in 3-ounce or 1-pound bags with great flavors such as honey glazed, teriyaki, red hot, apple cinnamon, original, peppered, sweet barbecue, and if you're ballsy enough, nuclear.
Be sure to use our promo code to get some of the best jerky on the market. Use Bleach Bros 5, all lowercase, to take advantage of this offer today. Welcome back to the Bleach Bros podcast. I'm B-Word, and I'm here talking with Jake about the movie The Flash. And before we actually get into the review, there's a couple things that I have to bring up as far as drama from the release of the film. So with that, there's a lot that's being said right now about Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck had about 4 or 5 minutes in the beginning of the movie. I thought he was done very, very well. I thought it was just a phenomenal just a great performance from him. But if you look at the end credits, and I didn't look that closely, but there in the whole nerd world right now, there is some absences in the end credits that include not only Ben Affleck, not only George Clooney, they also leave off Ben Affleck's team. So his hairstylist, his makeup artist, all of that sort of stuff. And my understanding is that there's a rift between he and James Gunn, and this was James Gunn's way of just giving him the middle finger. So before we went on break, we talked about James Gunn giving the middle finger. Should all of that be true, which all of this right now is a rumor, Jake, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, because I mean, it's not hard to add people to credits. You can blame reshoots and all that stuff and release dates. And I understand there's CGI and the way they do the end credits and stuff, but I think you could find a way to put it on the black screen, right? You can find a way to put them in there. I mean, you don't put George Clooney in there, even though you put him in the fucking film, right?
Right.
You don't put Ben Affleck in there, even though he's been part of this universe forever. And then you don't put his team on purpose, which I read about the Rift too. But I don't know. It's just that's the type of stuff I'm talking about, where it's like him being like, you know what, I'll get you, like, you know what I mean? And so that's where he doesn't seem like a good leader. Like I said, I think James Gunn is very creative. I think he's very good at what he does. I hope he proves me wrong, but I just don't trust a whole universe in his hands.
Well, so the article that I'm actually referencing, and again, this is not necessarily substantiated. We haven't fact checked this. But basically, James Gunn himself changed the film's original ending. The ending of the film was to have Henry Cavill as Superman, Sasha Calle or Kaye, I don't know how to pronounce her name, which is the female Superman, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, Ezra Miller and Michael Keaton all meeting up at the courthouse. So in the final scene, Ezra Miller shows up at the courthouse to go with his dad's bail hearing. And then just for the sake of a gag to feature one of the worst iterations of Batman, George Clooney, to show up at the end of the film. So all of that was scrapped, and then George Clooney's at the end of the film. Now, there was the exclusion of Ben Affleck, his stylist, his makeup artist from the Flash movie in credits, just because James Gunn was called out as a liar when somebody asked Ben if he would direct a film for him, and he said absolutely not. It's also reported that that the imminent DCU reboot is partly responsible for the failure of Shazam 2. Again, the cancellation of Black Adam, also the cancellation of Henry Cavill in the universe, seemed to meddle with at least the box office performance of Shazam 2. So I do think that as we're dealing with some of this fallout of these characters, of these iterations of the characters, I do think that it could be a very petty way for James Gunn to exert dominance, if you will. I also think that it's a really bad way to do business. And if James Gunn is doing business like that, if it is substantiated, I don't know that I necessarily agree with it. I can understand that he's trying to do his own thing, and this is his way to phase these out. I just don't know that you eradicate the relationships of it. Does that make sense?
No, it does. Good, but it's like we have Blue Beetle coming out.
Yeah.
Does anybody fucking care?
No.
That's my point. It doesn't look good, for one. I mean, it just looks like hot garbage. But two, it's part of a universe. We don't even know if it's part of a universe or not.
Right.
And so there's so much convoluted mess with DC. And I guess that's our biggest issue overall. Is it really doesn't matter that James Gunn's coming in if we really want to look at it on brass tacks. DC's been a mess since fucking Snyder was there.
Yeah.
I mean, they have never gotten anything right. Swamp Thing gets canceled because somebody at DC made a fucking typo on the budget. That's the real reason it was canceled. Great show, by the way.
So the Dark Knight trilogy, pretty stellar up until the final one. I didn't like the final one. Was Man of Steel? That's what the name of it was. Man of Steel. Yep. Decent frickin' movie. I thought that was a great origin story for Superman. Of course, Superman, a great casting, right? Because Superman Returns was the movie previous to that, and Lex Luthor was actually Kevin Spacey. Like, talk about a terrible casting, right? And then Brandon Routh was a decent casting for Superman. But the Superman that was supposed to be right before that also was paid homage in this film, and that was Nicolas Cage fighting a spider. And now, that was a big point in this film, too. So let's kind of get into some of the cameos here, too. But before we do that, one last point on all of this post-production stuff, post-release stuff. There is the rumor that The Flash 2 already has a script written, and that Andy Muschietti, who is the director of The Flash, also known for his hand in the new It films, there's talk that he would be on to direct as well, but it was all based off of box office performance. So
it's never going to happen.
In the first weekend of box office performance, they were really looking for, I want to say, $90 to $100 million domestically, and I wanted to say that they were looking at like 150 to 200 million worldwide, and they ended up coming up at 70 and 129. And as we know about week number 2, you have a dramatic fall off, right? We're also in blockbuster season. You still have Fast and Furious in the theaters. You still have Transformers in the theaters. You've got more Disney properties in the theaters. We know that The Flash isn't going to hit that. So I do think that it might have been another way to kind of deal with all of that. But so that being said, man, I really want to talk about this film. So give me your review right now, and then I'll go ahead and give you mine.
I don't like it. I was texting Gnome during it while I was in the theater watching it. I rewatched it today on my computer because I will not buy this, and fuck the internet, I illegally downloaded it just so I could see if there was something that I missed. I walked up and went to the toilet during it in the theaters and also in my house at different times and came back and went, oh, it's still going. I will say this, B-word. There were things I was hyped about, but the problem is, too, the trailers already ruined it or gave away the surprise.
Yep.
So when I saw Michael Keaton, I was like, oh, yeah, I already knew that was going to happen. Oh, they see the Batmobile. I already knew that was going to happen. Oh, like, there was so much that the trailers, like, that's another final point. Like, it just seems like they gave away pretty much the whole fucking film.
Yeah.
In every trailer they released. There was really not a lot of point to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have the chance to make such an amazing story, Flashpoint, all that stuff. You have a chance to really go deep, and you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And you essentially just gave me 2 annoying assholes that run fast and let me watch them interact with each other. I mean, I do agree. Like, it'd be like if I went back in time, like I said earlier, to kick my own ass, like being in a room with me, B-word, if there was 2 of me, it would be a big nightmare. It'd be a huge nightmare for you.
Yep.
Like, and I'm sure that's how it was felt.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
But it just didn't feel like every scene just felt like, okay, we need to get this done. The whole film felt like, okay, we just need to get this over with. And that's how every scene felt. It was, okay, we're here. All right, I have a problem. How do we get this done? Okay, cool. All right, the problem's over. Oh, I'm the team's janitor. I clean up everybody's mess. Oh, a baby's in the microwave. Oh, here we go. I need calories. The spaghetti verse exists. There's a crazy Batman kick me in the face because I'm slow. Strike me with lightning. Thank you very much, Benjamin Franklin. Like, geez, like it felt like I was sitting there just like, okay, end Act 4, end Act 5. Show me this part of the trailer. Oh, and I was just catching up to the trailer. I was waiting for trailer moments, which is something I never fucking do. I've never sat there going, I can't wait for the scene from the trailer. And that's what I did in this movie.
I will agree with you, man. I think there were some redeemable qualities from this film. Do I think it was a terrible film? Yes. Do I think that the storyline potentially when they first started talking about this was good? Yes. I can tell that DC's fingerprints of fucking this up were all over the film. A large part of that could be Ezra Miller and his off the film or out of the studio issues. I think that played a huge part on this. I loved Ben Affleck's character in this. I loved Michael Keaton's character in this. I loved the new Supergirl, I guess is what she is. But you know what really pissed me off is that they didn't really like have her very much. Like I felt like it was such this short cameo. There were certain things that I absolutely love about this theory is that you have time travel, right? And the time travel wasn't the same old story. Like I enjoyed that. Things changed. It had that butterfly effect. Like all of a sudden, Michael J. Fox is not in Back to the Future. Michael J. Fox is now in Footloose, and Kevin Bacon is now in Top Gun. And like, there's these little details that I thought were very well thought out to be able to explain like the effect of time travel. And I even loved at the end where like nothing's ever the same. Like I felt like Clooney showing up at the end. Although I would have rather seen somebody else aside from Clooney, to be candid with you, like make it be Michael Keaton, make it be, Val Kilmer with a voice, make it be, even Christian Bale. Yeah. Make it be even Christian Bale. I think that there's a lot that can be said as far as like that part of the stuff goes. But I also appreciated that nothing was the same. It didn't matter what was changed. Nothing was the same. And that's the thing that I loved about the butterfly effect, is that every time Ashton Kutcher made a different change, like the world changed immensely in that story. And I felt like they incorporated that very, very well in The Flash. Is it a great movie? No, it's not. Like, are there great parts of it? Yes, but not very many. And I think that I don't regret watching it, but it is definitely not my favorite movie. Ezra Miller's performance, though, can we give this guy some flowers? Ezra Miller's performance was outstanding.
I think playing two characters is hard. However, you're playing the same character twice, and you're just realizing how annoying the Flash is. Like, I will say this: they made me like the Flash character more, so I'll commend them with that in the sense of understanding how he does things. I like the powers, like. I get that a little bit more now, and I was like, okay, that fleshing him out was enjoyable.
Right.
But the process to get there was tedious.
Very much so.
And it's like watching, like last night I watched a terrible rom-com with my wife. And it was one of those ones where the characters had no chemistry, because that was a big problem in this movie. There was no chemistry between a lot of these people acting together. Like there's chemistry between Ben and Ezra because they've worked together on multiple films. But like other people, they just did not work well together. And they seem like, what film are you in? Do you really fucking care?
Right.
And so there was a lot of that. It also felt like those scenes where you like, you know, when you work with people when they've been fired or they know they're going to be fired or they're quitting or anything, a lot of it felt like that with DC, where they already knew everything was going down. It's like, then what's the fucking point? So there's that. Yeah, I think he did a great job, but I also don't think his job's as hard as we're making it out to be, in the sense of he was playing two different characters, but it's different than like Tom Hardy when he played those twin brothers. I can't remember the name of the film right now, but
yeah, I know which
where
one you're
he's
talking
them,
about.
and they're two totally different fucking people. This is like, okay, he's the Flash, and then he's just a younger Flash, and he makes the same stupid jokes and he says bra more. You know, like I liked the best Easter egg I liked is how he's always in yellow, because it was like, okay, we're getting to the reverse Flash.
It was a reverse Flash teaser there, and that's some of the things that I didn't like about it, and you know, I guess I'll leave my review relatively simple in the fact that, is it worth the watch? Yeah, at some point. Do you need to rush to the theater to go see it? Absolutely not. Do I think that it's a good ending to The Flash? Kind of. I'm okay with it, I guess. But I'm more disappointed in the fact that they had the best casting of characters and they just fucked it up. But speaking of fucking it up, dude, what the hell happened with the CGI in this fucking movie?
Well, dude, the CGI is bad everywhere right now. Like let's admit it, Marvel's had this problem for the last few years due to the strikes and how people are treated and budgets and getting things out faster. But for how long this has been in delay hell and how long they've been working on it, it's like you're telling me. I mean, this movie was supposed to come out a year and a half?
It was supposed to come out in 2018 originally.
Right. But I mean, like, even after filming was done and before reshoots and James,
I think it was going to be 2020, but then COVID hit.
Right.
So I mean,
we're in 2023 now. So
right.
I mean, regardless, you come up with weird CGI, bad CGI, like too much CGI. Like, I understand you need Michael Keaton's Batman to be able to really fight and show that. But what the fuck happened to stunt doubles? Like, how come you have to make it so it's so fake looking that it's not enjoyable, to where it's almost like pixelated and it's just not fun?
Bro, not even that. Just like whatever he called that speedball that he was in. And
that weird,
and he's looking at all these clay people, and right there at the end where they're looking at all these worlds merging and colliding and all this sort of stuff, right? And you're kind of setting up the Crisis on Infinite Earths, storyline. But then you're seeing like the original Superman and the original Batman, and then you're seeing the original Flash, and like you're seeing all of these characters, right? And then they bring in Nicolas Cage, and they bring in like all these things. They leave out a lot of characters. Like it was done very poorly. And the studios come out and basically said that that's just the way that Barry saw it. I don't know if I accept that, man. Like, we have a lot of great technology, even if it was just poor CGI. This looked like clay. It didn't look real. And now, granted,
and they're trying to do this weird universe thing and say it's sort of like, I mean, the one I enjoyed was where they were showing how his like speed verse works, where he looks like he's swimming, and they addressed that.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was funny.
Yeah, that was funny.
And so I get that they're trying to say like this is how it is for him and how you see it, but when you're watching it as a fan, you're just like, it looks so bad.
Right.
Like if I was the Flash and that's how I saw life, I wouldn't think I thought I was in the 80s and Return to Oz, and I'm going, wow, like they don't have the technology.
So there's two things that I really had a problem with in this, because you don't show all the Batmans. Like, I think that you could have put a Pattinson in there. I think that you could have put a Christian Bale in there. You don't you show all of the Supermans, right? You show all of the Flashes, but the CW Flash, and actually the original Flash, like with
in it,
right? The original Flash with the military helmet and the wings coming off of it. I don't remember what Flash that is, but the person who played that in the CW show was played by an actor named Teddy Sears. Teddy Sears actually came out and said, that's not me. That's a look-alike. And so now it's the question, like, was it AI that they were doing this? Were they trying to recreate this? It just ended up being tacky. And I guess it took away from the storyline, because while I'm sitting there trying to pay attention to the storyline, I'm A, looking for Easter eggs because I'm a fan. I'm B, looking at all this stuff just in disgust, going, why are you doing this? And then C, I'm just as soon as I try and wonder, why are you doing this? I'm just lost. I just felt lost in it.
I guess I'm that, because like I agree with you too. It's like you give me all or nothing. Like you give me all the Supermans, but not all the Batmans. You give me all this. Like, and I'm not saying you need every damn, but it's like at least attempt. Like do what Marvel does and hide it in the background, where maybe like you did show every iteration of Batman and we just haven't seen it yet. And it's like, oh, you zoom in. But the problem is the CGI is so bad you would never have found that.
Right.
And so I don't know. There was so many points where it's like they had missed opportunities to be like, okay, we're going to pay homage to all this, but we're only going to pay homage to this sector.
Right.
And then fuck this sector. And you know what? We're going to ignore that sector. Like I feel the one thing I think, and then, like DC has this problem, is Nolan's Batman is the closest to what we've had, like of realism, but being like within this generation, right?
Yeah.
And they always like skip over.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's its own. It's the only property that's its own thing.
Right.
Like, and it baffles me. Like how come that one DC property gets overshadowed all the time, because it's probably one of the best iterations we've ever had, and they'll never include any part of it with anything.
Well, and I think there might be some issues too, and this is something that we don't know, and so this is completely skeptical, but there might be some issues with using somebody's likeness and having to pay for it. So if whether it was AI generated or they used, previous stills or anything like that, I would assume that DC owns the rights to previous scenes that were aired in different movies that you can just show clips. But if you're actually showing somebody's likeness, I would be curious if they would be on the hook to pay that individual, and maybe with the amount of budgets that they had to make some cuts. Now, I would have prioritized that differently. I would have definitely shown the most popular characters. I don't think we needed to see Adam West in this, candidly. I love Adam West Batman. It's campy. It's weird. But in this movie, I don't think I needed to see it. That's so far away. Why don't you give me the Dark Knight? You know what I mean? Like I would have just rather have different cameos. Was there anybody else that you thought should be in the cameo scenes that weren't in the cameo scenes?
None that haven't existed before. And what I mean by that is there was the rumor, and this apparently was going to happen, was James Dean Morgan, right? Is that his name? Was going to be
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Wayne Bruce. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, sorry. He was going to be Wayne Bruce, which is a great fucking casting, by the way. That's a dream casting. Like, what? Yeah.
You mean...
I mean Thomas Wayne. Sorry,
Thomas Wayne.
Thomas
okay,
Wayne.
I was like,
because Wayne Bruce is the Stan Lee Batman.
Yeah,
sorry, I'm wrong there. No, I meant
Thomas Wayne,
the other one. From Flashpoint. But I mean that's one of those castings too. It would have felt like John Krasinski. And I said this to you in private, is that it felt like we got him as
the fan
Reed
service,
Richards just because people have always said this is the dream casting. But here's the thing: I would have had that. That's a great cameo.
Mm-hmm.
You have that scene. I love Flashpoint. I think it's one of the best stories. I love Thomas Wayne's story where he's like an angry fucking Batman from Sin City, just killing people and doesn't give a shit. His logo's cool. I mean, that's one of those moments where it's like you have it. the rumor's there, just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it at this point. You can branch off from that
What are
later.
you going to
'Cause
lose?
Can you imagine?
What are you going to lose?
Right. And I don't know. So I guess that's the only one I really miss. I could really give neither here nor there on other cameos at this point, because it's that the only other thing I would ever want to see, and they're all Batman related, is I would love to see more people from his gallery, and I mean like more Robins and stuff. And like I said, these are all more iterations. Like I would love to see a Nightwing.
That's where I
would
was
love
going.
to see. I would love to see. I would love to see most of the Jokers, like even more like what they have. I would love to see more of the CW characters come in.
Yep.
Because it's like you've had this whole Infinite Crisis Worlds whatever thing, and you did all these crossovers, and you didn't even bother to put it in here. It I understand it's not at the same level of Endgame, but they treated it like it was going to be DC's like big finale. Like we're going to have everything in it, and it's the finale. Like why not? Why not just do it and have that happen? And I guess that was also a missed opportunity where we went into it. I went into it like this is a series finale. Like give me everything, and I didn't get everything. So I went, okay, then what was the fucking point? It was just another movie that's on the shelf.
All right, final thing on the review. Give me a letter grade. Where are you at?
For me, I'm at a C, a pure C, no plus or minus.
Oh, okay.
A C. CGI was terrible. Storyline was it was predictable. Acting was okay. Cameos. I mean, all this movie is all flair, no substance. It's all trailers, no plot. I mean, essentially, you're there to see Michael Keaton. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. When that was doing, everybody was like, oh, I can't wait to see Michael Keaton do Batman again, because that's an argument. A lot of people say he's the greatest Batman of all time. There's really not much else that we haven't seen done in this film.
Yeah, I was excited to see Batman with Superman. Didn't get it. And Michael Keaton's Batman was Superman. I want to be specific here. And didn't get it. I think the storyline. I think this is going to sound really weird. I think the storyline was a B. I was okay with the storyline, but there was so much in the movie that I just had issues with, whether it be cameos or CGI, or just the way things were shot, or the way that actors were squeezed out, or some of that sort of stuff. So for me, I'm going to go with a C minus. I'm borderline on a D plus for this. Again, I think it's something worth watching if you're into it, and watch it at some point and then just say that you did it. I don't think you should go to the theater. And I'm a big theater person. Like, go to the theater, support your local theaters. I just don't think that this is one of those things that you have to go to the theater to see.
No, and it's funny because typically my grade's going to be lower than yours, and for once I was surprised because I thought you were coming in with a B, and it's one of those things, B-word, like it most of the time we can argue like we're giving it a C, right? But fanboys are going to give it a B because at least we got this and at least we got that, and the worst part is as a fanboy, I'm giving it a lower grade because I didn't get this or I only got that, and I'm not saying I want them to give me. It felt like they were like, we're going to give you everything. And then like, but not that, not that. Take that away. We'll be cheap there. All right, we'll cut corners there.
It felt like when you were driving in the car, like going home grocery shopping with your mom, and you're like, oh, there's McDonald's. I want McDonald's. I got McDonald's at home. This was the Flash's McDonald's at home. Like, that's what this was. We had a lot of expectations for it. They just didn't come to fruition. And this is how it ended up, man. I again, go see it. If you disagree with us, let us know in the comments. Let us know. Give us a review. Let us know. Shoot us a message on the website. Check us out on the socials. And speaking of that, Jake, next week we're doing a very special episode. Would you like to preview that episode a little bit?
I want you to. You're better at that than me.
It's because Jake forgot. So for those of you that are not Patreon members, we always shout out our
we're
Patreon.
Giving it away free.
We're not giving it away free. We're not a hooker here, Jake.
We're giving it to them.
So for those of you that aren't a member of our Patreon yet, or for those of you who only subscribe to the Hippo Happy Hour tier, we are actually curating a special The Stain Remover episode for you next week. So for those of you interested in our Patreon, for those of you that have always been curious what the stain remover is like, we are going to curate and get an episode together that would be very, very similar, if not identical, to what you would get on our Patreon. And so we're excited to hear that from you guys. Get excited for it. It's going to be some good content. And if it is something that you like, I mean, support us on Patreon. We're creating this stuff for you.
Can I admit something, B-Word?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't forget, but I'm stupid.
Yes, you are.
Here's what happened. When you asked me, my face looked at you like a cow looks at an oncoming train, because I still fully did not understand what we were doing. And I keep getting embarrassed because I think I've asked you like 6 times what we're doing next week. And I'm not getting it. Like I finally got it now. Because the way he explained it, I was like, oh, that's really, because all I was thinking about today was writing a rundown for next week. And I knew if I gave it to you, like, why do we need a rundown? But for some reason, I kept writing a rundown going, I have a great idea. We're going to do this. And that's why when you asked me to explain it, I was like, I don't really know because I'm dumb.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
That's really what happened.
And to continue with that, this episode's going to release on Sunday. Come Monday, for our Patreon subscribers, we will have June's The Stain Remover available. So if you are interested in supporting us on Patreon, go ahead and do that. If you're kind of curious before you want to spend some money, check us out next week. And with that, Jake, what do you got for us?
Thanks for all the dirty talk, and come back and get sanitized.